Editor's note. For the opening statements, the microphone for Ken Rosso was not on, and from approximately 10 minutes to 12 minutes, there is no audio. The League of Women Voters releases footage only in raw and uncut form. In the spirit of transparency, the section with the bad audio was left in. Apologies for the mistake and inconvenience.
Good evening, and welcome to this forum where we will hear from the candidates for the St. Peter School Board. We are videotaping tonight from the St. Peter Community Center. The League of Women Voters of St. Peter is hosting this forum together with our co-sponsors, the St. Peter Herald and the St. Peter Chamber of Commerce. My name is Diane Norland, and I will be the moderator tonight. Margot Druschel will assist me. We are both members of the LWV St. Peter. The final decision as to which questions are asked is mine alone. I will quote the League of Women Voters Minnesota. The League of Women Voters Minnesota, excuse me, and our local leagues conduct candidate forums to provide the public with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss the issues that are important to members of the public. The League is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The views expressed in each forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters. League of Women Voters Minnesota and our local leagues post complete, unedited recordings of forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan or political purposes, unquote. Tonight's questions were gathered from the public, the St. Peter League of Women Voters, and our co-hosts. All questions asked here this evening have been reviewed by our League Forum team and the Chamber of Commerce President, Ed Lee. We will not ask questions that are unclear, are on personal matters unrelated to the elective position, hostile, or that are submitted for the purpose of making a statement rather than gaining information. Questions on one issue or similar issues may be consolidated or rephrased. All questions become the property of the League of Women Voters. Candidates will be asked questions in random order, but all candidates will be asked to answer all questions. Candidates are seated in alphabetical order. Each one will be allotted 1 minute, 15 seconds for opening statements and 1 minute, 15 seconds for closing statements. They may have 1 minute, 15 seconds to answer each question. So yeah, we're tough. Our timekeepers, here to my left, will track the time holding up a yellow sign when 15 seconds remain and a stop sign when time is up. You may finish your sentence. And you saw the signs, everybody? Okay. When you go to the polls, you are asked to vote for 4 of the following candidates: Marty Duncan, Amanda Hurd, Bill Kaut, Crystal Lola, Rita Rosbach, Ken Rosso, Michael Spear, Tracy Stewie, Bill Weber. And we will begin with the opening statements. Our forum policies do allow candidates with unavoidable conflicts to submit opening and closing statements to be read by the moderator. The statements cannot exceed the time limit set for other candidates. So we will begin with the opening statements, and we will start with Marty Duncan.
Thank you. I am encouraged by the fact that we hear reports from the North Elementary School that the kids are getting new training in learning how to read. When I started teaching, I was teaching English and journalism at Pomona High School, and I learned in the first month that 15% of my kids could not read. They were not quite 16 yet. They were being passed on until they could hit 16 and then legally get out of high school. As a result, I have been dedicated my career, my life really, to urging kids to read and urging teachers to inspire kids to read. That's it.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Amanda Hurd.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to thank those hosting this event as well as those tuning in. I'm grateful for an opportunity to share my thoughts as well as hear from other candidates tonight. My name is Amanda Hurd. I am a mother and a mental health professional. I have 2 young children. My daughter is a first grader at South Elementary, and my son will begin school in a couple of years. My educational background includes both a bachelor's and a master's degree in social work, both of which I received from MSU Mankato. Professionally, I work as a therapist in a community mental health center where I have been for the last 6 years. Prior to this, I worked in substance use treatment centers for 8 years. I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker as well as a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. I recognize the impact that public education has on an individual throughout their lifetime. In our community and in my daily work, I see the amazing opportunities and relationships built in schools, but I also see areas for growth and ways that we can strengthen our support for students and staff. I am running for school board because I believe that all students and staff deserve to feel safe and supported in our schools.
Thank you, Amanda. Next, we will move on to Bill Kaut.
Hello, my name is Bill Kaut. I've been a member of the St. Peter community for 51 years. I'm married. I have 3 sons. All 3 graduated from St. Peter High School and Luther College. Why am I running for school board? Well, I'm currently on the school board, and several members of the current board encouraged me to run for re-election. Probably the number one thing I'd like to see accomplished in the next 4 years is to see the school district return to the pre-COVID-19 levels as far as attendance, student numbers, and achievement levels that were in existence prior to the start of COVID-19. What qualities do I feel I have? I'm experienced. I taught for 35 years social studies in the St. Peter School District. In addition to teaching social studies classes, I also was dean of students and a guidance counselor. Following that, I had 12 years with Minnesota School Boards Association, and then 2 years on the school board. I feel I'm experienced, knowledgeable, and passionate. That's why I would like your vote.
Thank you, Bill. Next, we will move on to Rita Rosbach.
Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters, St. Peter Chamber of Commerce, and the St. Peter Herald. My family and I moved to St. Peter right before our older daughter started kindergarten, and she graduated from St. Peter High School last year. We still have a child in our district. During our time here, I've enjoyed giving back to our community through service to our children and our families, whether through serving on the board for the Creative Play Place, creating and directing the Little Monster Dash for the Halloween Fun Run, to volunteering for my youngest daughter's philanthropic endeavor, North's Clothes Closet. I have my master's in occupational therapy with a focus in mental health, and I've worked as an advocate for people with developmental disabilities and their families. I currently serve on our district's advisory council for the Office of Education Equity. I'm passionate about education as it is vital to helping all of us navigate through life as well as contribute to our communities. I volunteered in our classrooms for 7 years, helping with math and reading, and I absolutely loved working with our children. I can't think of a more noble profession than teaching, and yet the respect, empathy, and thoughtful communication that was afforded to our teachers and school staff years ago seems to be dwindling. I'm running for school board because it is my hope to work with a great team to support our children, our families, our teachers, our staff, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Next, we will move on to Ken Rosso.
Thank you. First of all, I'm delighted to be here, and I appreciate the sponsors, the League of Women Voters, St. Peter Herald, and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. My wife Patsy and I have been residents of St. Peter most of our adult lives. It's been a wonderful community, and we all agree to appeal to it. One of the reasons I'm running for the school board is because I want to give back. And both of our sons graduated from St. Peter High School, had a wonderful education. I'm very, very interested in doing everything I can to see that other students have similar opportunities. In terms of experience, I've been on the school board in the past. I served 2 terms. I chose not to run for a 3rd term, but later was invited back onto the board to fill out a term of another member who moved out of the district. From an education standpoint, I have 2 bachelor's degrees and 2 master's degrees, including a Master of Business Administration and a Master of Arts in Teaching, and a number of graduate credits in school counseling. From an employment perspective, I worked 35 years at the Nicolet County Bank in St. Peter, also worked in the University 4-H Extension program, and taught at a community college. I've been very involved in the community, was encouraged by a number of people to run for the board, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity, and thanks again for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Ken. Which mic? Okay. Ken, would you push the button on your mic? Okay.
Did that not come through?
No, it was off, and I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, okay. But
You could hear it, but not
okay.
incredibly well.
But it's better now?
Yes.
Do you want to do it again?
To be fair, I feel like we should.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay,
that's fine.
no.
I was thinking it came through, you indicated on the sound test, but
It did, so I don't know if it got bumped or my apologies.
I
Well,
must have done.
and another thing, everybody be sure that you speak loudly enough too. Even though you have the microphone, speak up.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And I'll
yes.
try not to lip sync this time.
Okay. Ken, please.
Thank you. I'm
Yes.
delighted to be here and appreciate the opportunity, and want to thank the sponsors of the event, the St. Peter Area Chamber of Commerce, the League of Women Voters, and the St. Peter Herald. I'm very, very interested in serving on the school board as a member of the St. Peter community. My wife and I have lived here for most of our adult lives and have been very involved in numerous activities within the school as well as the community. Both of our sons are adults and went through the school system here, had a great experience, and one of the reasons I was very interested in running for the board is I want to do everything within my capabilities of helping other students have similar opportunities that our sons had. In terms of experience, I served on a school board for 2 terms previously, chose not to run for a 3rd term, but was invited back to complete the term of another member who moved out of the district. On education, I have 2 bachelor's degrees and 2 master's degrees. One of the masters is Master of Arts Teaching. The second one is Master of Business Administration. Also, I have a number of graduate credits in school counseling. I've been very involved in the community for many, many years, both in school activities and community organizations, often in leadership roles. I was employed for 35 years at the Nicolet County Bank and retired several years ago. And again, very, very interested in serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Better? Good. Next, we will hear from Michael Spear.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, as everyone else has, for hosting this event and giving us the opportunity to speak to the people. My name is Michael. I've lived in St. Peter my entire life. I'm an alumni of the St. Peter school system, attended everything from South Elementary all the way up through North in the high school. I love this town and what it offers to everyone, but I think that it falls behind in key areas for 21st century learning, specifically technology literacy and hands on the wheel that understand everything about the changing of how education works today. I think that with introductions such as ChatGPT, Zoom schools, personalized learning, I feel that we need hands on the wheel that understand how these technologies work, how they can help our teachers, and how they can help our students to achieve the best they possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And next, we have Tracy Stewie.
Hi. First off, I would like to, again, thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this event tonight, for all your hard work. I can only imagine the amount of time it takes coordinating this, and especially for me and changing my mind and making my no into a yes at the very, very last minute, aka this morning. As I said, my name is Tracy. I am seeking re-election for a second term on the St. Peter School Board. My husband and I have raised our family and have made St. Peter our home for the past 22 years. We have 3 children who have graduated from St. Peter Public Schools. Our youngest son just started 9th grade, and we recently have become grandparents. In my time on the school board, I've served on many different committees. I've also served on many different community organizations. You can check out my website to see all that information. Why should you vote for me? I believe I bring a parental perspective. I have experience and knowledge, and we do have a relatively new board, and I believe experience matters. And I'm just a lot of fun to be around. So that's about all I have to say. So vote on November 7th, and that's it.
Thank you, Tracy. And now I will read the opening statements from Bill Weber and Crystal Lola. Bill Weber, opening statement. My name is Bill Weber. Sorry. My name is Bill Weber, and I am running as a candidate to serve on the school board for District 508, St. Peter. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting together this forum. I am sorry I'm unable to be here due to a previously scheduled out-of-state work function. I have been a resident in the St. Peter School District since 2009 and have been connected to the St. Peter community since 1994. I am married to my wife, Debbie, and we have 4 children. Our oldest graduated this spring from St. Peter High School, and the other 3 are currently in high school and middle school in District 508. I am running for school board to be a common sense voice for the students, parents, teachers, and staff of District 508. As a parent of 3 students currently in the district, I have a vested interest in working hard to ensure that all children in our community receive a high-quality education in a safe, secure learning environment, and that we use our financial resources wisely to achieve this goal. And next, the opening statement from Crystal Lola. Good evening. My name is Crystal Lola. I have lived and worked on our family farm just outside of St. Peter for 18 years, along with my husband. We have 3 daughters who are in 10th, 7th, and 4th grades. I have been actively involved in my children's education and schooling by participating and volunteering my time with multiple fundraisers, including South Elementary Parent Council, North Elementary Parent Teacher Organization, various school fundraisers, volunteering in the classroom, and chaperoning numerous class trips. I also serve as treasurer on the St. Peter Trap Association Board. I am running for school board because I am passionate about the children of our community and their future in the St. Peter School District. If elected, I promise to listen to the parents, community members, and students to ensure their voices are heard and represented. My goal is to create a supportive environment where every student and family feels embraced, supported, and equipped with the resources they need to thrive. If elected, I will be honored to contribute to the great schools we already have and keep improving them. So thank you to all. Next, we will move on to the questions, and we will go in a different order, making it random. So the first, remember you have 1 minute, 15 seconds. The first question is, what do you see as the top 3 priorities the St. Peter School District should address, and why? And we will begin with Tracy Stewie and then move on to Bill Kaut.
All right. I just knew I was going to get the first question right out of the gate. All right. So top 3 in 1 minute and 15 seconds. So here we go. Yes. I'm going to start with enrollment would be right up there with I would think diversity, equity, and inclusion, and mental health. So I'm going to try to say this real quick. Enrollment, obviously we need enrollment because we want to be able to bring lots of people into the school. That's going to help with funding and all of those things. This is going to be really fast. Mental health, because we know with the pandemic and really just kids in general, the mental health is just such a huge factor for all of our kids and honestly for our staff as well. And mental health, and then we diversity, equity, inclusion. And we're probably going to have a question about that later as well. So, and with that, it really is more than just the, in more than just the, in more than just the, I can't even think, you guys, I'm so very sorry. More than just the racial equity inclusion, it's the economic inclusion. There's just so much. That is such a hard question to do in 1 minute and 15 seconds, and it's very hard to be first, so I apologize for that. That is a loaded, now 1 minute and 15 question, a 1 minute and 15 second question.
Okay.
Wow.
Moving on, and maybe it'll make it a little easier. Here is the order in which you will be answering. Sorry, I should have given you a warning, perhaps, Tracy.
That was a lot.
Yes.
In 1 minute and 15 seconds.
It was, and you did well. You survived.
I survived, but that's about it.
So next will be Bill Kaut. And then third will be Marty Duncan. Fourth will be Michael Spear. Fifth will be Amanda Hurd. Sixth will be Rita Rosbach. And seventh will be Ken Rosso. Okay? So, heads up. All right. Bill, shall I repeat the question?
Sure.
The question is, what do you see as the top 3 priorities the St. Peter School District should address and why?
Okay, thank you. I feel the top 3 things that the St. Peter School District should address are to provide the materials and support necessary to allow our teachers to raise all our students to pre-COVID levels of accomplishment. I feel that that's important to make up the time that was lost during the pandemic. Secondly, we need to ensure that the goals identified in the recently developed strategic plan are accomplished. And third, the school district needs to continue its efforts to establish strong connections of mutual support and communication between it and the students' families. These 3 items should help prepare our students for future success. And then I'm going to throw in a 4th one. We need to address the middle school infrastructure, as was evident in the first week of school when temperatures were in the 90s in the classroom. This is going to be an expensive proposition, $30 million just to fix the HVAC. So that's something that needs to be addressed in the future.
Okay, thank you. The next person is Marty Duncan, and the question is, what do you see as the top 3 priorities the St. Peter School District should address and why?
I'm going to give you my top 3 priorities, and then I'm going to try to introduce myself a little bit better than I did in the first place, because I failed to even think about introducing myself. My top 3 priorities always has been 1 priority is teaching reading. The second category of priority is openness, having schools that are open to immigrants. And the third category is increasing our emphasis on science. Most people do not know that 80% of the postgraduate students at MIT are from India and another 10% are from China. Our own kids can't get into postgraduates, the higher levels courses at MIT. I bring a grandparent perspective to the job of being a school board member. I've been a member living in St. Peter for 23 years. I taught English in 3 different school districts prior to that. I was a superintendent of schools for 28 years. I was 10 years on the board of directors at St. Peter. I'm a member of the Last Man Club of Vietnam veterans. I'm also a member of the board of directors for Partners for Housing in Mankato and St. Peter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next person is Michael Spear.
So, my top 3 things I think that the school board needs to work on for the coming year is 1, adapt to the evolving technological landscape. I think that school doesn't look like what it does when I was there, let alone what it was 20 years before I was there. Learning has changed, education has changed, and we need to be sure that we're ready for that, using all the tools in our belt to make sure that kids have the most up-to-date and fulfilling learning experience. Second, as Tracy said, is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The population of our school doesn't look like what it does when I attended there, and that's a wonderful thing. We have all sorts of people of different races, creeds, sexual orientations attending our school, and diversity builds strength. But we need to be sure that we have and our spaces include space for all those people. Finally, if we're going to make these changes, we need to make sure that our funding is secure. Changes can't happen without money, and we need to make sure that that is very shored up if we want to continue to make progressive, forward-leaping changes in our education. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Amanda Hurd.
Thank you. I would say that the top 3 items for me would be mental health, equity in education, as well as academic achievement. And I think that the first 2 kind of can go really together. I truly believe that students need to feel safe, they need to have a sense of belonging, they need to be seen, and I think that we can support all of our students in so many different ways to support their mental health, to make sure that we are respectful to different cultures, to every different population that we're serving, whether it's socioeconomic status, race. We can offer so much to support these students, and I think those 2 items will then transfer into our academic achievement. Students will learn better when they are supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Moving on to, excuse me, to Rita Rosbach.
I would agree with Amanda. I think mental health and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then I would actually say that the middle school infrastructure does need to be addressed. So mental health, it's one of the basic needs that we all have, and it's so important because if you think about mental health, if you have issues with anxiety, with depression, and you go to school, those are the things that you're focused on. You're not able to have that academic achievement. And I really applaud our school for having screenings, or for implementing screenings, and then the program Character Strong right now to start addressing mental health. I'm biased as far as being on the advisory council for the Office of Education Equity. Our population in our schools is 70% Caucasian, and then there's 30% who actually need to feel a sense of belonging, but that's not just by ethnicity. It's children with disabilities, different socioeconomic status. They all need to feel like they belong and they are included. And then the infrastructure, our middle school is old, and I think that'll play a part in academics as well as academic achievement. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Rita. I will read the order for question number 2, and then I will give you question number 2.
Did you miss?
Pardon me?
Rosso?
I'm sorry.
Ken Rosso didn't get
Oh.
the opportunity.
I am sorry, Ken. Please.
Yes, I believe there are numerous things that one could list in terms of priorities. There are unlimited needs, and of course there are limited resources. But the first indication, excuse me, the first priority I have would be quality education for all. And that ties into obviously inclusiveness, including all different groups, subgroups within the community, which Rita alluded to just a moment ago. And actually our school mission talks about the encouragement and providing quality education for all people, all students, and all people, not simply students, to attain their highest potential. And I think that's a critical component. Secondly, support, and they're closely allied with one another in terms of quality of education and the support that is provided to those students, faculty, staff, et cetera, is all paramount, and they're closely interrelated. School readiness is a critical component of a quality education for students to get them started in the proper direction at an early age. The fiscal limitations that we have are real. We have limited resources. We have to invest, and I think that's the key word, because education is an investment, and in my opinion, the best one we can make. But that has to be done in a prudent, wisely managed fashion, and I think we have an administration that can carry that out very well. Thank you.
Thank you. I am sorry. I think there's weird stuff in the air. Question number 2, I will read in a minute, but this will be the order. Ken Rosso, Rita Rosbach, Amanda Hurd, Marty Duncan, Bill Kaut, Tracy Stewie, and Michael Spear. That will be the order. The second question is this. Funding for the schools is largely driven by enrollment. What can the school board do to maximize enrollment in District 508?
It's a very good question and a very important one. One of the things that I'm very excited about now is we're positive on open enrollment, which means we have more students from other districts enrolling here than are choosing to go to other schools. The private schools that are in our community, and I have total respect for them, but we do gain some students from the private schools after they finish 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. That tends to ratchet up. I think we need to be proactive in terms of our marketing. One of the gems of St. Peter is the school system and the buildings, despite the middle school heating problems that's solvable. But our facilities are by and large very good. And one of the major attractions to a community is the school system. And we're very, very fortunate to have that. And back when I was on the school board and also been involved in numerous organizations, like I mentioned earlier, talking to people from other communities, they're envious of our school system, and they greatly respect it. So I think we need to market. I think we need to work on housing for people that can move to town. There are significant limitations in terms of space available, particularly homes that allow for sizable families. And I think we also need to focus on retention of students we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will move on to Rita Rosbach.
In regards to maximizing our enrollment, I actually believe that inclusion is key. It's not just about our schools, but it is about our community. And we need to foster a sense of belonging for everyone so that people want to stay in our community. I spent the last year and a half working on the Greater Mankato Inclusivity Study, and one of the things that struck me is that even when purchasing homes, not everybody feels that they've received the same treatment. And in order to foster that sense of belonging, we really do need to look at what would keep people within our community, which I think is wonderful. But what are some areas that we need to improve upon, and what will make people feel like this is home for them? Another thing that we need to improve upon, as Ken was talking about, is affordable housing. Right now, not always understanding the cultures of people. I think housing becomes a little difficult when it's not available, and also when we don't understand some of the needs that people have.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Amanda Hurd.
Thank you. I am going to echo what has already been said about making sure that we do have space for individuals, families to be in our community in order to be enrolled in our schools. I know that affordable housing, especially for multi-generational families, is something that is extremely difficult to come by in our community, and I think that that keeps families from being able to utilize our school system. I think we offer a variety of classes and opportunities in our schools, but looking at who is able to access those, what are the resources available to make sure that all families, all students can access the opportunities that they would want to participate in. So in that regard, I think, making sure that there's opportunities for just a variety of families, both within the school system and community engagement.
Thank you, Amanda. Next, we'll hear from Marty Duncan.
The question is a little bit difficult in the sense that as school board members, we act to approve policies and approve actions of the administration. And we do things, we act as a board. I am on the board of the Partners for Housing in Mankato, St. Peter, so I know something about the difficulty of finding housing. We're proud of what we're doing. We're helping people. We have a unit right here behind Loggers, and we're proud that we're helping people find temporary housing and counseling them into finding jobs. But I would add that as a board member, my role is to listen and make suggestions to the superintendent. As a board member, I cannot make promises. I can promise I will listen, take notes, discuss with my fellow board members in committee, and I will make strong suggestions to the negotiating team. Been there, done that. That's what a board member does. We listen.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Bill Kaut.
Thank you. I'd like to echo what Marty says. School board members are limited in what they can actually do. But to answer your question, I think what we really need to concentrate on as far as promoting student enrollment is to promote the quality education that St. Peter provides and the wide range of activities that St. Peter provides. We have a tremendous amount of options available. I think that we need to encourage strong academic requirements. We need to work on promoting with our faculty improvement in their education so they qualify for college in the schools classes rather than losing students to post-secondary options. We have a great credit recovery program to keep kids in school. So there's a wide variety of things that we can do as a district to promote attendance in St. Peter's schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Moving on to Tracy Stewie.
Yes, okay, so now we can focus on one thing here. So we'll talk about enrollment. So yes, I'm going to go at what Bill said. So we could talk about daycare and housing and type of housing, but those really aren't school board things to talk about. So we'll talk about the school things. One of the things that we have improved on is easy online enrollment. We've been able to improve the process and the ease to enroll your kids. So that's something good we're doing. Yes, it's nice to get kids in kindergarten, but we are focusing on, there is a recent trend that we have kids that are joining the district in 9th grade, which is awesome because that also helps. We get more funding for those kids anyway. So that's great. And why are we getting those? We think we have a pretty awesome high school. We think we have some great CTE classes up at the high school. We think that brings people in, and I think we can focus on that. I also think we have some awesome athletic activities and art activities as well, but we have an amazing number of activities to offer kids, which helps with mental health as well. So I think that with the enrollment, we can focus on some of the things we do have, because we can't really fix housing and daycare and type of housing as a school board.
Okay, thank you. And we will move on to Michael Spear.
Thank you. What most of the candidates have said here is pretty much what I'm going to say. I think that as a school board, our job is to make the school the best it possibly can be, which would make people want to come to said school. We already offer things like our amazing free lunch program, 1 free breakfast, 1 free lunch for every student, all the way to giving everyone Chromebooks to help with in-class learning. Those kind of resources and opportunities are the things that can set St. Peter schools apart from surrounding schools and can really make us stand out and possibly be the choice for any families choosing where to send their children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. We will move on to the third question, and here is the order in which you will speak. Michael Spear, Tracy Stewie, Rita Rosbach, Ken Rosso, Marty Duncan, Bill Kaut, and Amanda Hurd. And the question is, as a school board member, how would you respond to any parents who have concerns about what is being taught in classrooms? And we will start with Michael Spear.
Thank you. Here I am again. Parents obviously have a vested interest in their children's learning, and we as a school board, as elected by the parents, do to some extent speak for them as their voice to the school administration. However, individual beliefs, whether they be political or religious, should not get in the way of a good public education. If what is being taught is unbiased, factual, and based in the spirit of greater knowledge and education, then that parent has to be told that what they personally believe can't stand in the way of a full, complete, enriched education for their child. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We will move on to Tracy Stewie.
Can you just repeat what the question actually was
Yes.
there?
As a school board member, how would you respond to any parents who have concerns about what is being taught in the classroom?
Okay, so how would I respond? So how I would respond is, I would, say, I appreciate your concern, but as a school board member, that's kind of an easy question for me because I don't really I can say I appreciate your concern. I understand that's a frustration because I have had that happen. But as a school board member, I'm not going to sit down and start talking about curriculum with you because that isn't my job as a school board member. I would encourage them to talk with their principal. If they didn't get the answer, well, I would encourage them to talk with their teacher, which they probably already have, and then to talk to their principal. If they still felt like they needed to take it up the ladder, I would say that they should talk to the superintendent. There isn't really anything, at that point, that's just kind of the chain of command and that's how it is. If there was going to be a bigger discussion that needed to be had, it would have to go through the board. It's not something that we can sit down and have coffee about it, but there isn't any action that I can take to fix that. I'm 1/7 of a school board, and many of the things that are being taught are state mandates, and so there's not a lot we can do at a local level to change that anyway, so.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Next, we'll move on to Rita Rosbach.
I have to agree with Tracy. She knows she's on the school board, but I also believe in respectful dialogue, and that as elected members of the school board that we do need to listen. Whether we can do anything, not as much, but it's good to listen to the people in our community. It's good to have those conversations at least. I agree that the state mandate determines what our curriculum is, and quite honestly, I believe in our teachers that they have the knowledge to teach. I do not. I'm an occupational therapist. I'm not a teacher. And I have faith in our teachers and our curriculum. But I would definitely be willing to listen and to have those conversations. I think that's how we foster belonging in our community and develop an understanding for each other. It's sharing of stories and getting to know each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Next, we'll move on to Ken Rosso.
Thank you, Diane. Tracy and Rita are exactly right. The school board is a governance body, we have one employee, that's a superintendent. And believe me, I'm not an expert in choosing which English lit book, or even though I have a biology degree, I don't want to necessarily pick out 10th grade biology class or classroom resources. But it's very important that parents have concerns. That means they care. It's also very important that we listen to those parents very respectfully. Value, honor, and respect is critical. And as has been stated earlier, we can't specifically change a lot of things. There are also many things that are mandated at the state level and even the federal level that we can't necessarily change. But we also hire people that we have faith in. Curriculum materials are vetted and appropriate for their ages that they are teaching. And also, we trust that the faculty and the staff and administrators are choosing the appropriate materials to maximize those students' opportunities. It's important that the curriculum be aligned from grade to grade, and that I think is being done very well to, again, maximize the efficiency and choose what is appropriate. But again, it's important that we indeed listen and be involved in discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Moving on, we will go to Marty Duncan.
I would echo the previous speakers. I've been a member of MASA since I first became a superintendent. And believe it or not, last year, MASA ran a 6-section class on how to listen and feel good about ourselves. And I passed, I guess, with the passing grade. But what I think I hear people saying is that as board members, our role is to listen and make suggestions to the superintendent. As a board member, I know I cannot make promises. I can promise I will listen, take notes, discuss with my fellow board members. But essentially, when a parent has a problem, they can talk to board members, and generally we probably have to ask them to go talk directly to the teacher first, then talk to the principal, and then bring it up to the superintendent. I'm proud that I've been a member of MASA all these years, and in fact, I attended their annual meeting this morning by Zoom. and we have two sections on apprenticeship competencies coming up, and that's an issue in the legislature. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We will hear next from Bill Kaut.
Yes, thank you. I would echo many of the things that the other candidates have stated. However, the first thing I would do when a person called with a complaint like this is to ask who they've talked to already. If they've followed the chain of command, have they talked to the teacher, have they talked to the principal, have they talked to the superintendent? I'd also tell them that it is their right as a parent to question any materials that are in the classroom. And if they feel that they have complaints and concerns that aren't being addressed, that they should go to the student parent handbook and take a look at the process that is provided for them to meet with either the principal, the teacher, or the superintendent, or all three, to come up with an alternative program for that particular item in the classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, also, I would give the superintendent a heads up that this person would be probably talking to them.
Thank you, Bill.
Next, we will hear from Amanda Hurd.
I am not sure that I have anything new that hasn't already been said. I really liked what I think Ken said about seeing that as parents caring and being engaged, and I think I would offer discussion regardless of if I could, make that change. But I think offering that time for discussion with parents is important, making sure that they do feel heard. If I was hearing, the same thing over and over again, kind of a theme and concerns, I think that would be a broader conversation. But I would also, what others have said, trusting the educators that we've hired as a district to make the decision on what they're teaching.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, recent data reflects an increase in absenteeism within the district. What steps, if any, should the school board take to address this concern? And we will begin with Amanda Hurd, move on to Bill Kaut, move on to Ken Russo, move on to Michael Spear, then Tracy Stewie, then Marty Duncan, and last but not least, Rita Rusbach. So we will begin with Amanda Hurd, and again, the question is, recent data reflects an increase in absenteeism within the district. What steps, if any, should the school board take to address this concern?
I think looking at, if possible, figuring out why are students not able to make it into classes, make it into school, find the root of the problem. Mental health, I know it was mentioned earlier too. If students are anxious, if they're too anxious to come to school, they're going to be way too anxious to learn if they do make it here. Making sure that students are supported in whatever the reason might be, looking at even transportation, if that's an issue, if there's other things going on within a family that could be possibly supported or worked around to make sure that students are coming into school. I believe that our absenteeism rate is still slightly better than the statewide average, but making sure that we can figure out how to keep that there and then raise it so that students are in class so that they can get the education that they need.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. Next, we will hear from Bill Kaut.
Yes, absenteeism. I don't know if this question is a reflection as to what was in the Mankato Free Press on Sunday, but I'd like to point out that that data was 2 school years ago, and that had impacts from COVID-19 where students were required to miss if they had a close contact with someone with COVID-19. So there wasn't a lot that could be done about that. I mean, if you have a family of 5 people and all other 4 people get COVID at different times, they were required to stay home for 5 days at that point in time. Our attendance has rebounded remarkably. We were one of the top schools in that article, not in the top 5. But in talking with some of the administrators yesterday, the attendance is improving even this year. And so I would just support the administration in its efforts that they have brought forth to increase the attendance.
Thank you, Bill. Next, Ken Russo.
And I think there are several pieces to this whole issue, and part of it is to have a conversation with not only the student, of course, but with the parents, and find out to the best of our abilities what the issues are. And has been mentioned, mental health is certainly a large component of that, anxiety issues, health issues, physical health issues, and those types of things. So once you know what's driving it, then you can begin to deal with it. The support system that's in place and can certainly be activated at many levels for anxiety and mental health concerns is very impressive in the St. Peter district. And as has been mentioned, our school has rebounded relatively well from COVID, which was devastating on many fronts, as we all know. The data that everybody probably saw in the paper that just indicated if you miss 2 days a month, that's equivalent to missing a year of school over a 12-year period, which is incredible. And once people realize what their opportunities are in learning engagements that they're missing by being not in school, I think that would be part of it as well. You have to make school a positive experience. People need to feel comfortable and enjoy what they're doing. Co-curricular is a part of that. If they're not in school, they can't participate in co-curricular activities at the same level. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. We will move on to Michael Spear.
Thank you. So, absenteeism is definitely on the rise. As Bill pointed out, some of those statistics are from COVID, but we live in a post-COVID world. Work got moved remote, school got moved remote, and trying to get everyone back in, I'm sure, is like herding cats. But we also have to accept that in this post-COVID world, there are some absences that are going to be unavoidable. I think that an important key is to make sure that any time that students have to be absent, that we can maximize learning opportunities for them. There are lots of more personalized work, learn from home options, making sure that a missed day isn't just a fully missed day, making sure that every student has that opportunity to learn, even when they're not in the physical classroom. And then for the absences that are avoidable, things that were addressed like mental health, making sure that the school is an accepting place where people aren't afraid to go to in the mornings. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Moving on, next is Tracy Stewie.
All right. So yes, so kids that don't want to go to school, I've had a couple of those over time. And I do think that COVID did kind of play into that. And I think even as parents, we just got a little kind of used to that as well. You know, your kids were just used to be when they were a little sick, we encourage them, right? Go to school and try your best. And, you know, it's just a little cold. And now we're kind of just gotten a little more relaxed. So a little bit of his parents' mind shift a little bit in trying to encourage people to go to school, and then do you or don't you, and it's just kind of a hard thing to work through. But even a couple different changes we've done at I know at the high school now, it used to be that if you wanted to do sports, you had to be there during block 3 or later, or you had to have a note from the doctor. Well, now you have to be there like all day, or you need to have that note. Just small changes like that, and just trying to help parents make better choice, or I'll say make better choices, but just to change that way of thinking. And just making things like that to show that being in school really is the most important. Yes, you can do the online things and you can do those things, but we know that just being there is going to be the best. Yeah, so I don't know. We all just have to try to get our kids to go back to school.
Thank you, Rita. Next, Marty Duncan.
Oh, well.
I had a knee-jerk reaction when you mentioned having 2 kids that sometimes were reluctant to go to school. Because I was a superintendent, I got to thinking, my kids never had the option of not going to school because they had a mother that taught elementary music. I believe that when we're going to deal with absenteeism, the real key is as a board member to support the administration and especially support the teachers who care and know how our children are coping with coming back to school and working online occasionally, simply to have people working in the schools who know which kids are having trouble. And that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will have Rita Rosbach. Rita, would you pull your microphone closer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. In regards to absenteeism, I think it's very important to really see what might be causing that, and I think that requires speaking to students, speaking to parents, speaking to teachers, especially to get a sense of what actually is going on. I think absenteeism is an issue not just in our school system, but there may be some things that are specific to our school system that we need to learn about. I think mental health plays a part in this, as well as just the lingering effects of COVID. We have students coming to school who aren't used to coming to school. When you think about the lower grades, they don't know what it's like to be in school, and they're just getting adjusted, as are many of the students in the other grades, but especially the lower grades. And we need to take a look at that and see how we transition them in. I think we also need to take a look at another effect of COVID is socioeconomic status. Families have been affected financially, and we need to take a look at transportation. Or are parents able to stay in the homes to help get their children ready for school? There are children who are coming to our schools with no one to help them get ready in the mornings, and I think we do need to take a look at that and see what we can do.
Okay, thank you, Rita. And our fifth question is, yes or no, do you support the decision to continue the use of school resource officers in our district buildings? And please explain. And this will be the list. Rita Rosbach, Marty Duncan, Tracy Stewie, Ken Russo, Michael Spear, Amanda Hurd, and Bill Kaut. So Rita, we will start with you.
I will start by saying yes, we are blessed here to have a great relationship with our SRO, which is testament to our school, our city, our police department, and our SRO for being able to communicate and make decisions based on collaboration. I know that right now there are quite a few school districts that are struggling with the new law that's coming in place, and I appreciate that our community has the ability to discuss and make this happen in a collaborative and positive manner for our schools and our students. Just remembering that our SRO is focused on serving as a resource to students and staff and providing education on bullying, harassment, and making wise choices and building those positive relationships, and that is why my answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, Marty Duncan.
I have always been pleased that we had resource officers in the schools. A resource officer is the person who stands in the hall and talks to kids as they're walking by. It's a long way from where I started teaching. We had two officers with pistols on their hips. One guarded the parking lot at Pomona High School, and the other one watched the entry door, watching for kids who were coming in who did not belong to our school. But in Minnesota recently, in recent years, we've had resource officers who listen to kids, and I think really I agree that the current concern about the new law is being over exaggerated. What I heard today was that the law does not prevent a resource officer from intervening when there's a real necessary reason to intervene. So I'm in favor of resource officers.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Next, Tracy Stewie.
Well, you said yes or no, so I could just say yes and then just stop, but I won't. Yes.
Your choice.
Yes, I do support that. I think that it's very important. I just think that relationship that it builds between all the students and honestly with the families is very important. I know personally with my son, he just graduated last year. I think that he has a great relationship with our current SRO even after he's graduated. And even with the families, I think it's important. As far as the new law, I don't really know because I haven't gotten into all that. I do know that our current resource officer, we aren't concerned about it at all. I don't really know if that was even part of the question. I don't even really feel like it is. No, I don't really think that there wasn't anything about that. We just kind of commented on that, no. But no, I do support the SROs. I think that how we are utilizing our current one is great. I know we went down to one, and that may have been controversial, but I think that, of course, we'd like to have 1 million employees because I always think the more employees you can have in all of our roles, the better. But I think that the SRO position is very important for our school, and yes, I support it.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Next, we'll hear from Ken Russo.
Thank you, Diane. Yes, I'm very supportive of the resource officer. They have an important role to play, and I think much of the media attention that's been directed at the controversies pertaining to that are examples that are probably way out of the norm and something that is maybe a bit sensationalized. It's for the resource officer to have a situation that the law speaks specifically to is, I think, highly remote, and there are a lot of interventions that can be done prior to some discomfort getting to that point. Part of that is school readiness, and kids are learning emotional control, learning respect for others, learning be patient, learning tolerance, all those kinds of things, which is a very good thing for all of us to know. And the resource officer, just being a presence there, I think, is a mitigating factor for any kind of risk. And heaven forbid, but if there is an issue where someone is physically at risk, be it the individual or others, the resource officer still has the option or the ability to intervene in a very appropriate way. And again, I think that the resource officer is just that, a very valuable resource.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Michael Spear.
Thank you, Diane. So yes, I do support keeping school resource officers in the schools. I think that St. Peter is a very special community where there is a dynamic of trust and cooperation that doesn't exist in all other school districts. On top of that, having a school resource officer is great for non-otherizing of law enforcement agents in the community. The feeling of some students that they're not being targeted, that police in the community are not some mysterious outside force. They have someone they can talk to, someone who's right there in front of them, I think is very important for building those community relationships. So yes, I do support the decision to keep the resource officer in our schools.
Thank you, Michael. Next, we'll hear from Amanda Hurd.
Yes, I do support the decision to maintain our relationship with our school resource officer. I've only ever heard positive things from the community about the school's relationship with our SRO. I think it's important to have that safe face in the schools. And, I think sometimes there's families or students that they only associate law enforcement maybe with something that's scary or bad, and having somebody who feels safe in the school, I think, is important. I think the ability to use that person as a resource, school resource officer, having them come into classrooms for education to provide just kind of a wealth of knowledge in different areas, I think is very important.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Next, Bill Kaut.
There's not much more to say on this, but yes, I do support having the resource officer. Approximately 2 weeks ago, the city council and the school board met together to talk about common approaches in a lot of different areas of concern. And the SRO was on the agenda, and there were nothing but positive comments from Chief Groko and Superintendent Grunson. We have a very formal relationship with the city. We have an agreement, a written contract, and we have, and Tracy can concur, I'm sure, that no concerns from the council or the board as to our current SRO. And I think resource is the key word there. This individual is a resource for many, many different classrooms. Legal issues, just interacting with kids, so forth. So I think it would be a detriment to our schools if we ended that program.
Okay, thank you. And we're approaching the end of the evening, so this concludes our question and answer period. There are several other questions that did not get answered, so we're encouraging the people who had those questions to come to you directly and to bring them. I will read the questions to you just so that you have them in your backpack. So question number 6 would have been, in what ways can the school board support our teachers and other staff members to be effective in their work with students? Question number 7, How can senior residents and other members of the public assist teachers in helping students in math and reading? Question number 8, what role, if any, does the school board have to address the pandemic melt and correspondingly adjust curriculum so students can learn at their developmental level as well as their grade level? Okay, so we will move on now to our concluding remarks, and remember that you will have 1 minute and 15 seconds. And I will, on the list, I will start with Amanda Hurd.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to run for school board and to participate tonight. With 4 seats open, it's been wonderful to hear the perspectives of other candidates. My background in mental health and community services would be an asset to the board. We've seen the rise in mental health concerns in our youth, and we're seeing the impact in our schools. Students can't learn if they're struggling emotionally or if they don't feel safe. Staff can't teach effectively if they don't feel supported. They need the tools and support for their roles as learners and as educators. I'm invested in the school district not only because of my own children, but because I believe that public school system is a foundational piece of our community, and strong schools lead to strong communities. If anybody would like to reach out to me, you can contact me through my Facebook page, Amanda Hurd for St. Peter School Board, or find my information on the Secretary of State website.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Next, Michael Spear.
Thank you, Diane. I want to thank everyone so far for supporting my school board run. I know I'm a fresh face, but I think that that's what the district needs. Our children deserve the best in education, and that involves personalized education and tailoring of techniques to those children to support education in 2023 in a post-COVID world and in a post-everything world, it feels like. Education isn't one size fits all. We need to tailor techniques for individuals and for our school district. I think that parents are relying on us to make informed decisions for their children, and I think that I could provide that informed voice in future discussions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Rita Rosbach.
We're all here because we want to prepare our children for a successful future. We can do this by providing them with a wide range of experiences and perspectives in a safe environment where they can learn, explore, and embrace their true selves. As community members, we also help by modeling acceptance and collaboration and providing a sense of belonging in our community. It's also important that we provide our teachers, school staff, with support and the respect that they need to give our children the best possible education. Our school board is tasked with the great responsibility of providing high achievement for all, safe and welcoming environments, and an efficient and effective system. I believe that this is best achieved through teamwork, the use of critical thinking skills, appreciation of all perspectives, and respectful dialogue, the same skills we need to be teaching our children. I also believe that a school board that better represents our students and diversity of our community will provide for improved academic achievement, civic engagement, empathy, and understanding, and I hope to provide a unique perspective that we have never had on our board. I believe in our students, our families, our teachers, our school staff, and our community, and I hope for an opportunity to serve. And thank you again to the League of Women Voters for all the work that you do to empower and educate voters, and thanks to my fellow candidates.
Thank you. Moving on, we move to Tracy Stewie.
All right, when I decided to run for school board 4 years ago, I didn't anticipate starting off my term with the global pandemic and school being forced to close and for the education system to basically reinvent its way of teaching. However, just a few months into my term, that is exactly what happened. I learned quickly that being a school board member wasn't going to be an easy job. You will sometimes face criticism and people will question the decisions you make. Being a school board member requires many things. Some important qualities are being ethical, having the courage to do what you feel is right, and being someone who never stops listening to the community. I believe I've shown over the past 4 years that I have these important qualities, and when you head to the voting booth on November 7th, I hope you vote with these important qualities in mind. It has been an honor to serve on the St. Peter School Board for the last 4 years, and I want to continue to be your voice at the table. If reelected, I will continue to listen to our community, I will ask the tough questions, and I will always keep the students at the heart of every decision I make. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Moving on to Ken Rosso.
Thank you, and again, I'd like to express appreciation to the league and the other sponsors, the Chamber and the Herald, and also my thanks to the other candidates. I think it's wonderful, speaks well for a community with this many people interested in students in St. Peter. That's fantastic. I'm not very good at talking about myself, but I've been told, and when you're running for office, not a good time to be humble. So with that, I'll do my best to be graciously non-humble, if that is the thing. I think I have the capacity to do well as a school board member. I've done it before. I very much enjoyed it. I learned a great deal, and I care. I listen. I'm prepared. When I was on the school board before, we went through some difficult issues, one of those being rebuilding facilities after the tornado. Nobody told me when I ran for the board that we were going to have a tornado a year later. And that was obviously a challenge. We talked about housing earlier, and one thing I'd like to say about that, another thing that we did when I was on the board, the school transferred property to the city for a nominal price, which is now a significant housing development hosting many students that come here, and obviously is a good thing. I think I have the educational background, the experience, and certainly the interest to be a very effective school board member. I encourage everybody to vote on the 7th. I would very much appreciate your vote, but the most important thing is that you get out and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. We will now move to Bill Kaut.
Thank you, Diane. And I purposely didn't thank the league at the beginning because I planned on doing it now. So thank you for this effort to allow candidates to express themselves on a variety of questions. I also would like to echo Ken's urging everyone to get out to vote. A couple of things came out of tonight's meeting, I believe. One, I hope people realize that a school board member is limited what he or she can do. And even that those limitations exist, I will always listen to any of my constituents. If you have a concern, feel free to give me a call or drop me a text or an email. My information is also on the Secretary of State's website, and I believe on the school board or the school district's website as a current school board member. I'd like to thank all the people who have voted for me previously. I hope I haven't disappointed them in my efforts. So again, I feel I'm very qualified, I'm very passionate, and I have a variety of experiences to bring to the table. I also would like to take one moment to put a plug in for people to fill out the free and reduced lunch forms.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay?
Yeah.
Those are critical as to getting us money in the district. So even though everyone qualifies for free lunch and breakfast with the new legislation, we still have to have those forms filled out so we can qualify for other aid. So please, if you haven't done so, fill out the free and reduced lunch forms.
Thank you, Bill. Moving on to Marty Duncan.
A little bit about myself. First, thank you to the league for doing this. And people who are listening, remember, get out and vote. A little bit about myself, because I am qualified and passionate. I just finished 2 terms on the board of directors of the Minnesota State Academies in Faribault. That's the Academies for the Deaf and the Academies for the Blind. So I know a little bit, I hope, about children with disabilities. I was appointed to that term. There was a 2-term limit, and now I'm no longer on that board. I'm committed to improving reading levels. I have published 7 novels, and they are all historical fiction appropriate for high school readers. I have the grandparent perspective and would suggest older and wiser is a valuable quality. I have seen everything that can go wrong, and I am confident I can mentor teachers and administrators to find sensible actions. Remember, I want your vote, and I promise to listen and advise with appropriate action.
Thank you, Marty. And I will read the closing statements from Bill Weber. Thank you once again for hosting this forum. I'd like to close by stating my future priorities for our district. Number one, the safety and security of our students in the classroom is a top priority of mine. And I will work to strengthen our relationship with the St. Peter Police Department and the school resource officers. Number two, we need to work to increase enrollment, especially in our lower grades that are coming up and into the future. We need to market our school and community as a place to get a high-quality education and attract students and families into our district. Number three, every decision we make as a school board needs to be student-centric. This means we need to ask, does this help our students achieve academic excellence? About every decision made by the board. I am passionate about our children's education and will work hard for our schools. I would like to ask you for your vote on November 7th. Thank you. And this from Crystal Lola. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I am excited to be a fresh voice for our district. I will work for a better classroom with improved education for our children and a healthy and safe environment for our teacher and staff, while encouraging productive relationships between parents and the district. I believe in the importance of parental involvement, recognizing that open communication and a strong partnership between parents and teachers are vital to each child's success. I will work to bring transparency in the budget and curriculum, accountability to parents in the community, and integrity to the school board. I will build on the great work already being done in the district and provide a voice for parents, teachers, and students alike. I would appreciate your vote on November 7th. Thank you. This concludes our forum for this evening. I'd like to thank the candidates for sharing their thoughts on the issues. If we ran out of time before we could ask your question, please contact the candidates directly. I would like to thank our partners, the St. Peter Herald and the St. Peter Chamber of Commerce, my assistant, our timers, other volunteers, our filming crew, and of course, our candidates and you, the public. Finally, vote. Early voting starts September 22nd. You can vote at the Nicollet County Courthouse or by absentee mail-in voting. Pre-registration to vote ends October 17th. Election Day is November 7th, and you can always register to vote at your polling place if you miss the October 17th deadline. For more voting information, go to mnvotes.gov. Thank you. We did it. Thank you.
I said you did well.
I'm sorry, what?
Can you email me your stuff so that I can just look at what I've created and make sure that